Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Good morning. Good morning. 10 win Sark, 10 win Texas. Guys, we won last night 26-16 over the Iowa State Cyclones. Here to break it all down. I mean, just an amazing night, right? An amazing night. I'm so happy for this football team, this program. And I'm happy we get to break this all down. So many of you have never seen a season like this before. Um, Many of us have not seen a season like this before in 10, however many years. So um, just excited to have a little victory lap today. And obviously, we're going to get to, some of the playoff ramifications and Big 12 aspects and all those fun things and really breaking down the game as well. But we're in a good, healthy place as Texas fans to talk about everything. Let me bring Kieran in. Kieran, I'm gonna put my headphones on real quick.
Got you. What's going on, y'all? Oh snap! Give me 1 second. I might be having connection issues. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we'll get Kieran back on here. But anyway, I'll start with my opening dialogue, if you will. I very rarely do I toot my own horn or anything, but damn it, I'm gonna do it today because this game really did play out as I predicted. And a lot of games this season have not played out how I predicted. This one, I seem to be all over it, especially after one Jerron Hufford decided to call out, Texas and our culture and all that good stuff. We knew what it was then, and I figured just based upon the matchup and things I had seen from Iowa State, um, you guys kind of pushed back against me. Some of you pushed back against me on the Thursday night show we did with Longhorn Fan Battle when we shared our predictions. And I said, now I didn't hit it around the money, but I said I saw this being Texas winning in a 23-14 lower scoring type game where they would cover. And I said they would look good in the trenches. It would be a game where yes, it's lower scoring, but aesthetically we would be pleased with it because of how physical we would play and just overcoming certain things, cold weather on the road. We haven't left Texas since the Bama week, so this is a true road environment. And I think all of those aspects that I hit on, not just on the Thursday night show with Longhorn Fan Battle, but I reiterated all of these points on Bleacher Report as to why I was picking Texas and how this game would look. And I mean, look, it was it played out just as that. So to see this result today is I was pleased with how they navigated yesterday's game. Um, the things that were happening, and granted, yeah, there's always going to be things we're going to talk about nitpick in terms of execution and plays that got away from us. We do that shit all the time, so that's fine. But you had a case where our guys are battling against officiating, literally taking points off the board, in my opinion, unjustifiably so. And I thought, wow, like I was sitting there watching, getting so upset. And I will say this: the mental toughness on this team was on full display last night because not only did they just keep playing, um, they didn't sulk on it, but I like the way that Steve Sarkisian worked the officiating. I like the way that Steve Sarkisian managed the sidelines throughout the game, and then allowing the players to say, you know what, we got to, we're going to keep on it and keep being physical, keep doing what we need to do. We've made Iowa State completely one dimensional, I know you guys have seen the big boys, and really the whole defense tweeting 9 yards rushing, which is just absolutely incredible considering how Iowa State was running the ball coming into the game, with really really good proficiency, and considering really throughout a whole game not allowing one slip up, not one bust, right? 9 yards rushing. That means every single time they decide to put the ball on the ground, we were on point. And credit to Pete Kwiatkowski, credit to Jeff Choate, the whole game plan. I thought we got run wise. I thought our linebackers really really came to the party. I thought they blitzed really well. Mo Blackwell, Jalen Ford, Ant Hill, David Benda, all those guys were making plays. And I told you guys this. Look, we talked about the loss of Jonathan Brooks. We talked about the loss, with some of the injury concerns and what Cedric Baxter going to do. And there's all these talking points, and we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about all of it. Trust me. But I told you guys this was going to be a game where the defense was going to have to rise up a little bit above where they had been playing and get back to the standard that they really were playing at, like early in the season, when they were like, it felt like they were just a little bit more consistent and lights out and not giving up margin in things. I knew that Iowa State would get theirs, which is why I had them at 14 points. They got 16. And, you could argue some of those points were assisted by the Zebras, but I'm not going to continue to harp on that. I'm reading some of the comments. Y'all are right there with me. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just look. Somebody said this Sark's game. I think it's Sam. Sark's game management was on point last night. I completely agree. Even some of the stuff that he dialed up that didn't work, I was like, that's execution. And I look, we all have our opinion. We all have the lens of football we watch it through. That's why it's so fascinating to get together here as a community, which is why guys need to hit that like button, subscribe, and shout out to your boy and all that. But please hit that like button. But the fun thing about last night is just understanding when we evaluate plays, like, oh man, I don't want to run that play, or why are we being so conservative, or a certain style of plays versus, oh no, I see what the coach is calling and it's there, right? And I think a lot of it yesterday, I think Sark just had a really good feel for the game. And I liked how I saw him engaged even when we were on offense or defense. There were certain plays that were happening on special teams that were very questionable. And I don't see Sark over there just, kind of isolated and siloed off in his play sheet. He's there working the referees. He's there, Jeff Banks did an amazing job pulling Keaton Crawford aside and saying, look, brother, we're with you. Okay, these guys are on that bull jive right now, right? Like that's not on us. But we're gonna keep playing ball. Let me take care of the refs. Let me handle this. But we're gonna keep playing ball. We know we're the better team. Let's go out there and execute the next play. That's the type of coaching and environment I wanted to see. And I think that Sark did a tremendous job of that. And it's fitting because this is his first 10-win season as a head coach at any point. So to do it here at Texas and to do it in that fashion is very impressive. Dimple Wonder, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Good morning. Good morning. Happy 10-win day. Happy senior day to Mr. Hufford. CJ played incredibly well, and so did the defensive line, obviously. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So look, let's get to Baxter and the run game. Um, I'm gonna give flowers to a certain group of people. Tashard Choice. Tashard Choice. You know, this is a guy that's not just out here recruiting. And we already know the work he puts in and the legendary stuff he's done. Um, as a recruiter and as a volume recruiter for this program and getting us into regions that we don't typically have the greatest presence in. But this week he had to be a football coach. Sark, Kyle Flood, and I said this earlier in the week. Hey, how do we look at this? Obviously, there was a lot of concern in the fan base, and I see you guys mentioning it here in the comments. There was concern about Cedric Baxter. Can he carry the load? How do you replace with Jonathan Brooks? Which is crazy for us to say because in the same season we were saying, how do we replace one Bijan Robinson? How do we replace Roshan Johnson in that production? And so, just the fact that we were able, to have that production from Mr. Brooks is impressive. But getting Cedric Baxter Jr. ready to play, getting Jaden Blue ready to play after he hasn't really been featured or really fully gotten opportunity to be showcased in this offense, and what that looks like, right? What their roles will be, what how will their usage be? If they're not effective early, does Sark bail on it? And I think collectively the plan worked out extremely well. And the result of that is Cedric Baxter has his first 100-yard rushing game as a Texas Longhorn. I think he had a really good diet of how he was used. He was used in a manner, early in downs, getting downhill. And that's the thing. When you touch the football and you have an opportunity to go blow for blow and start to feel things out with the defense, he starts to get into some type of rhythm. I thought he did a better job of evading, tackles and not going down by, just because somebody made contact with him. I thought he fought. And then there's certain things in the backfield where he was able to get by it. Jaden Blue, 7 carries for 18 yards, but he made his presence felt also in the passing game. And it wasn't big output, but you see Jaden Blue had 4 catches for 31 yards several times in that game. And Quinn Ewers is another where we give some credit. Checking down and staying on time. It's first and 10. Our primary read, let's say we have high-low type progression. Primary read downfield's not open. You can see Quinn's helmet go boom, boom, boom. And, Jaden Blue did a great job of not just catching the ball, but turning up, getting upfield, keeping us on schedule. Those 6 or 7 yard chunks after we can't get our initial read on first or second down to keep us on schedule to get us into second and 2 and third and 2, it's a valuable stuff. And that's a young player who hasn't played a whole lot. So credit to Jaden Blue for providing that for us. And I thought that's how he can be used. The screen game, and honestly, the more if he had gotten more touches in the run game, and some of them were later in the game, kind of short yardage stuff, so that's also going to muck up your average. But if you could tell with just how hard he's running, he's got some pop. So I mean, you got those two guys there. They showed up. They answered the call. Credit to Shard Choice and all those guys. I think it helped get Quinn a little bit more comfortable. Quinn was very jittery at first before he was able to settle down, and I think those guys coming out and doing what they did um, kept helped Quinn settle down, not just with his throws, but also Quinn's decision making and pocket presence at certain points was just absolutely awful at certain points. But then once he settled in and realized, oh, okay, I have support. We're going to be okay. I think we saw the Quinn Ewers, especially in the second half. I think Quinn's second half numbers were terrific in this game, and the decision, fortunately, Iowa State dropped some interceptions and some plays where we weren't punished for him having poor eyes. But the second half, Quinn was tremendous and led us downfield to victory, offensively getting points on the board, and that was in marriage with Sark. Sark was in his bag. I mean, look at the beater we dialed up, and we've run that concept several times. It's actually an old Shanahan play. Um, but we hit the the wheel going across the field to Gunner Helm. Beautiful concept that we've run before, but um, those are the type of things that as Sark started downloading more and more data against Heacock, seeing where chess pieces are moving, there's opportunities to hit downfield. Now we had some points taken off board earlier in the game too, because I like what Quinn did on the AD Mitchell touchdown that was taken away, and he actually made something happen off script out of pocket. But they said that so people on the internet are trying to tell me that Kelvin Banks, because he grabbed the jersey, he should have been holding. But I mean, that was the nitpicky of nitpicky holding calls I've seen. Um, but I digress. Shout out to the kicker. I see you guys giving Auburn some love. He has been that's that at the college level to have that type of stability from your kicker is really great. I mean, you watch some of these teams, man. If you guys watch college football across the board, um, I really think that we are blessed to have you know a kicker and somebody who we can rely on from 50 and in. I mean, normally I would say 45 and in for Burt, but um, he got that little warm up kick, so he was able to extend that range and hit a big kick for us and get us up two scores late in the game. I thought when we got up two scores and Burt made that kick uh, to make the score what it was, we go up 10 with 6 minutes left. I knew the defense had it. The defense said, "Hey, we got it from here, Steve." That's all we needed. We just need a little bit more margin. We got it from here. We'll lock it down because now Iowa State has to be one dimensional. And one thing you saw with Iowa State yesterday, watching this game, and this was throughout the game, Rocco Beck, really good freshman quarterback, and he's developed in conference game over game. I've been very impressed with Rocco. I've been very impressed with where he was and some of the jokes I had for him before conference play and kind of what he has to deal with now. He's going to be a good football player for Matt Campbell and Iowa State. But we were harassing him all night, Pat. I mean, there were so many drives where they would get something going and then we would just, negative play, they got a punt. Like that's how good our pass rush was. And Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy. And what I said on Thursday was this: the fact that the guy calling them out, Gerard Hufford is the one where they have to, obviously engage in combat. That's the most comfortable part of the team. Those are the people I never feel. If somebody had called out our secondary, or let's say said the same thing, but the guy's a receiver, right? Or the guy's a tight end or something like that, or a pass catcher, then I'd be like, be a little bit different. But um, those guys, Vernon Broughton came in at one point and was effective. I thought Alfred Collins, low key, made some really nice plays, especially in the run game. If you go back and really watch some of this stuff. So, I mean, our defensive line across the board was just winning. They just dominated, especially as the game went on, which is what really good defensive lines do. They take over. And, you look at the statistical output, it's crazy. 9 yards rushing by Iowa State today. Nine. Nine. or last night, I should say. Let me look at some of these comments. Let's see here. I'm gonna go back up a little bit because you guys are having some spirited conversations here in the chat, and I'm just kind of going through some of the things I saw on some of the things I was impressed with. I mean, again, this point in the year, um, again, the things we nitpick, and we'll have a chance to reflect. I honestly think we'll reflect even more about the season when everything's all said and done. Where we, left meat on the bone and places we grew and all those things. But for right now, yeah, Quinn is coming along. The second half that Quinn had makes me feel very encouraged for us finishing the season. The way Sark called plays and navigated this game and the feel that he showed. That's why in other weeks, myself, Kieran, Tran when he's on, whoever, we get frustrated with Sark about the blown leads, about the lack of production through four quarters. And this is a game where we have our lowest scoring output. But again, it's the manner and the game flow and all these other context matters, and the opponent and what you're facing and the way he's managing things. I really was impressed with his feel last night and understanding early in that game. That was a game early on where it's like, hey, this is going to be a field position game. Special teams is going to matter. Those 3-3, 6-3 before we really, had our first break offensively, which was the Jordan Whittington touchdown, which was a beautiful play call to get us up 13-3. Shout out to Jay Witt. Love him. We forever up on Jay Witt here. So looking at those aspects, Sark had, that was a game as a head coach. It's like, hey, this is how the game's going right now. But as I navigate through, we'll find those openings and exploit them. And that's exactly what he did. Kieran, let me see if I can get you on here. I think he's still having some connection challenges. Oh,
Go.
we got you back.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. Laptop's just like fried, I guess. But
Oh, no
yeah,
worries.
doing good. I'm sorry, I missed your question.
No, man. Look, well, let's start big picture, and then we can go into the game because I've been talking about the game for a little bit and kind of just addressing some comments here, and everybody's fired up. We got 240 in here right now watching us, so y'all hit that like button, show some love. Now we got our boy Kieran in here. Kieran, what's it feel like, man? You Texas fan. We're 10-1. Just big
Say that
picture
again.
coming off of last night.
Say
We're
that again one more time.
10-1. 10-1 Texas. Texas
Yes.
Longhorns. Steve Sarkeesian. 10-win Sark.
Yeah.
10-win Sark. All
10
hail.
wins Sark,
10-win
baby.
Sark.
And we don't have to hear that anymore. I mean, first takeaways, man, like I think about midway through the game, I wanted us to go out there and put up like a dominant performance and whatnot. And I still think we did, like kind of show our dominance out there. But I think midway through, I was just like, man, I just really want to win this game. Like, one, it kind of secures your spot to the Big 12 championship. I know, like technically, we're still not 100% sealed yet. Apparently, they came out and said that, which is also hilarious that a 10-2 team could not be in the Big 12 championship after all of the stuff. Like, just it's everything else aside, it's hilarious how this year is planning out for like us to have a good team. But I think the first thing that I thought of was just like, man, 10-win season, first 10-win season in forever. I can't like it feels surreal to have a 10-win season right now. And then on top of that, like mathematically, we can't have a 4-loss season this year. We had a 10-win season in 2018, but we still have 4 losses. We've had 4 losses or more every single year since 2009. That's not possible anymore. The worst that you're going to have is a 3-loss season, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just very ecstatic about the opportunity to go out there and really just ball out. I feel like all the pressures kind of like not saying all the pressure's off, but I feel like the majority of the pressure that the team was feeling before, or we as fans were feeling before, is kind of relieved now. And now it's just like, dude, we get to play Texas Tech in a game that we've been dying to play, and we get to go out there and put it on them in our home stadium, show out. All the seniors get
It's
one
our
last
senior
ride.
day.
Yeah, it's our senior day. One last ride at DKR. Let's go get it.
I can't wait for the Tech game, by the way. I think that's a game where they actually will turn up for various reasons.
Yeah.
Um, and it being after Thanksgiving, it being senior day, it being Tech, and knowing what happened last year, the fact that we are 10-1, the fact that, we have all these bogus rules about whether or not all these scenario things. And I think with the way you were in the live with Coach Choice and the energy that was in the locker room after that game. You could tell they got a weight off their back, but them boys are hungry now. They're having,
Yeah.
but it's hungry in a fun way. Like the kids, that was fun. It was a challenge. It was freaking hard. You're battling an Iowa State team that apparently was emotional and crying before the game about
Yeah.
how bad they wanted it, and
You could
you know,
tell they
and,
were
and
emotional. Like early on in the game, like as soon as their linebacker made a tackle, he's like, "Ah!" Like screaming, like veins popping through his arms and whatnot. I'm like, dog, wow. Like you could tell it was a very, very emotional game for them. I mean, like that's what you expect. You expect to get everybody shot, but it's like it's their senior night. Some of those guys they're not going to be playing football anymore because that's what happens at Iowa State. Um, and like it just it was a really emotional moment for a lot of those guys. But I thought my one of my biggest takeaways from the game, though, Steven, was the defensive intensity that we had in the second half. Whenever things were kind of going like things were kind of up and down. I love the fact that like as soon as that second half started, we came out, we were screaming. The guys looked fired up. They were communicating extremely well on the back end. Like I don't know. I loved what we looked like on defense in that second half. Like it just seemed like the team really, really, really cares. Like this team's really, really together. And that's one thing that we said we were like looking for before the season. And that was like the rumor coming into this is like, no, this is like a unit. You know what I mean? Like they really care about each other. They really care about the team success, this and that. Dog, like this is establishing a winning culture. This season right here. Regardless of what happens in the future, like this, like having a season like this 3 years in where, okay, like Sarkeesian comes in, he sets a new standard. You go out, you have 10 win seasons, you're in the national title contention, like you're in the national title conversation. Like this is exactly what we wanted for our football program.
I see us. I have a super chat here from Quentin. He said, "Everybody stop with the ref nonsense." My brother, respectfully, I disagree. And look, I'm not. Look, I've laid off the refs. I've said my piece. They took points off the board. Quentin, I know you thought Kelvin Banks held on the AD Mitchell touchdown. I thought it was super nitpicky. I thought the pass interference call on Ryan Watts was
Yeah, they put
bullshit
points on
because
the
the
board.
ball was thrown out of bounds where
Exactly.
Iowa State put
They,
points on the board.
yeah.
And the punt return. The Worthy had a punt return for a touchdown that was taken away. The kid turned his own self. Keaton
Mhm.
Crawford, as he's engaging, there's really nothing he can do there. That's not a block. The fact that they had to huddle and have a conversation about a block in the back that had literally no impact on the play. Worthy was going to score regardless
I
from
thought
the
it was going to be
angle at
on
which he
Lawrence
caught the ball.
Blackwell. Because you saw Blackwell like boom somebody out the way. I was like, oh dang, because I didn't really see it like at the corner of my eye. I didn't think at all it was going to be Keaton Crawford at the top of the screen, who didn't do he
Yeah,
didn't
that's why
barely
Jeff
touch the
Banks.
guy.
Yeah, Jeff Banks came over to him, and I could read his lips. Jeff Banks is telling Keaton Crawford, "You did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
That you did nothing." And that's when I was like, "Damn!" The coaches, like even Jeff Banks was like, "Bro, this bigger than us right now. Okay,
yeah.
just keep playing. What's
Just
going on
keep
up
giving me the effort.
there?" Right? They on that ish tonight.
Yeah,
Now I know that there was some things later on, and if you want to argue that, but whatever. And I'm not. Look, I don't want to keep it to ref talk. I think Cedric Baxter, Jadon Blue, our whole crew played too well for us to harp on. Like, I'd rather spend airtime talking about our players kicking ass and winning this game. I'd rather talk about Devondre Sweat blocking extra point and Austin Jordan running that hoe back for a tutty or for a 2 point conversion. Like, but um, some of this stuff was justified. I think somebody mentioned earlier the spotting of the ball, right? Like
yeah.
there was some
The
some
one
very
that we scored the touchdown
controversial.
with Jay Witt. Yeah, that was clearly a first down, but they spotted that a whole like yard and a half short. It was crazy. But I mean, yeah, I'll respectfully disagree with you as well, Quentin. At the end of the day, it didn't really matter. And also, you got some calls down the end, like at the end of the game, that were like, I mean, they saved your ass. Like let's not forget on that like last drive where we got the stop. Like, they called 4 men in the backfield. Like they called an illegal formation on them, and that's something that like definitely could have just gone like not seen or anything like that. But the refs are paying attention to detail. I didn't have a problem with with this ref crew whatsoever. If we have Kevin
I think
Marr
it's
though
because
next week,
Because Brett Yarmark had already hit the chopper and bounced.
yeah, that's probably
If he was still in Jack Trice, I don't know if that Joyce getting called, brother.
yeah.
But you're right.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, like you said, you know what I want to talk about. You know what I want to talk about. You know what I was talking about when I was in the chat, and it's that running back number 4, that true freshman out of Orlando, Florida. You know what I mean? I've been trying to tell people, everyone's been extremely hard on him, and I mean, I think this season is also kind of teaching all of us Texas fans, man. Like we really have a problem being a little bit too hard on this team. Like we really do. We're hard on Quinn. We're hard on the running backs. We're hard on everybody. We expect like perfection almost. At the end of the day, dude, like these guys are playing extremely well. They're playing at a very high level right now. Quinn Ewers is playing at a very high level. Cedric Baxter last night played at an extremely high level. And I loved every single second of it, man. I know our man 40 was talking about like the carry distribution and all this other stuff. I do not care, man. I'm here to tell you right. It says Stephen A. Clip. I'm here to tell you we do not care. Okay? Cedric Baxter went out there whenever it was needed most on the road. Keep in mind, this is Cedric Baxter's second time playing out of the state of Texas as a college football player. It's crazy. Like, think about that. This is like probably second time getting on like a long plane ride to go play college football. And he goes out there in the cold against Iowa State, who's a really good defensive unit, and he shows up and they play extremely well. And I don't know, I was extremely proud of him. I'm happy that he's still on our team. I'm not our team. I'm happy that he's healthy right now and he's contributing for this team. And I didn't see much of a drop off in the run game. I really didn't.
I want to you're right, man. Credit to again to Shard Choice, Kyle Flood, and Sark for really crafting that plan together on usage,
Yeah.
on how they would use Baxter, and if Baxter gets going, how do we get Jaden Blue to complement? Because and Sark, he always wants to have a dominant lead runner. That's how he's always has been
Mm,
as a coach. He's never been a back by committee type guy.
yeah.
But when you're replacing a Jonathan Brooks in the production that Jonathan Brooks had, Jonathan Brooks wasn't just a key for us in run game; he was the key for us in pass game too.
Mm.
So I think that's where I think Jaden Blue and Cedric Baxter also complement each other very well because of their skill sets. Because when I need Sonic in the game to get in there and start, you know, because he runs like
He
Sonic.
does run like
I
Sonic.
just
That's hilarious that you say that. Jaden Blue does run
when I need
exactly like Sonic. Just those legs turning over each other over and over again. That's
dude,
hilarious.
I love it. It's a fun style. It's a fun running style to just
Yeah.
watch, right? Because he's so fast, he's so explosive. But just to see the complementary, but also see Jaden Blue exercise patience of saying, all right, these early pass downs, I need to make sure I'm available for my quarterback if the progressions are not there. And I was saying earlier, he kept us on schedule on several different downs.
Mm,
Those you don't really notice. You don't remember a 6-yard catch on 1st and 10 that gets
mm.
you to 2nd and 4. But
No.
that's a big deal. When you don't have your guy, when you're missing people,
Yeah.
and
Nor
he's
do you
keeping you on
remember.
schedule.
Yeah. Nor do you remember like the ability to catch a ball that might not be thrown perfectly out on the edge, and you're able to pick up 3 or 4 yards on that down, rather than having that ball go right through your hands or incomplete, and now you're looking at a third and long. We were stuck in a lot of third and longs early in that game. And I think down the stretch, you started to see Jaden Blue and Cedric Baxter making plays to make sure that those are shorter yardage situations. And to the team's credit, that's been where we've struggled the most offensively. They were amazing in short yardage. Steve Sarkisian was scheming it up. I love the way we played. I love the way we played in those short yardage situations. He had something ready. He had a great 2-point conversion call where
Dude, I
Jay
didn't
Witt
see the
almost runs.
ball.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see the ball at all. Jay Witt runs almost untouched into the end zone. The other one where he put Cedric at fullback, handed it off to him. He got an easy 2 yards when we needed one. I don't know. I think Sarkeesian has taken this challenge of like, okay, we're really struggling with the short yardage. We're gonna figure that out. And they came out there disciplined. And honestly, I think this season, I think that this game and Alabama were the best called games by Steve Sarkeesian I've seen.
I agree.
Yeah, I like
I agree.
when we weren't moving the ball, it was execution errors. You really think about it,
I
it was
agree.
execution errors. Like because there's other times where it's like, okay, this is just not a good play call. I loved what he showcased last night.
Kyle Witherspoon, thank you for the super chat. No, this is where I'm at too, Kyle. Um, you know, and yes, it did balance out at the later in the game, but as Texas fans and OU fans are going to say the same thing. We're going to have our eye on officiating a little bit more at this point, just with until we get out of. I mean, just is what it is. It just is what it is. Guys, as you come in here, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subbed up. What's good, Cameron? No worries. No worries. This is a victory space. This is a happy space. Look, our head coach, 10 win Sark, went into his bag last night, accepted the challenge. As Kieran said, dialing up some goodness on short yardage. Look, some of these plays, I like coaches like Andy Reid. This is one thing I've always given credit to coaches like Andy Reid because they are not too proud to take somebody else's plays. If they see something they like on run on Sunday or Saturday, they will install that. And I don't know where Sark got some of the plays he ran on short yardage from, but if he saw somebody else doing them, kudos to him for installing that. Or if he's been saving it for whatever. Look, because we literally got so stagnant in the middle of the season where we could call out what we were doing in some of those things, and I felt like the way he was using his personnel, and then the complimentary stuff, the way he called how he countered and got himself into the Jordan Whittington play to score that touchdown.
Exactly.
Because you can't just call that play; that
Yeah,
has to be set up.
the setup for Gunnar Helm as
That
well on his touchdown.
the setup for Gunnar Helm. That felt like some Shanahan type stuff, where I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're on right. That's the Steve Sarkisian that is a plus for us as a weapon on the field, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So impressive to see that, especially against Heacock, man, and exercising those demons in Ames, Iowa. Let me get to some more. Oh, Dimple Wonder had another super chat here. The Quinn arm angle throw to Sanders was so ridiculous. I got to put some money on it. Was that the one? That was the one on 3rd and 13, right? Where Sanders is going across the field. Is that the throw you're talking about, Dimple Wonder? Because that throw really impressed me. And it was all arm, where the whatever the nature was, it was kind of a muddy pocket, and it was a big third down. So
Yeah.
Quinn made some big, that was a big boy throw that he
Yeah.
made right there. I think that's the one you're talking about on 3rd and 13,
I also wanted to
where he
say
converted to
these
Jatavian.
I wanted to say about Quinn, these are the games he doesn't get enough credit for. You protect the ball on the road. Yes, you miss like a deep shot, and like people always remember the like, okay, yes, he had AD Mitchell for like what would have been a touchdown, right? And people don't give him enough credit for one protecting the ball in these situations, making sure you're accurate 9 times out of 10. Like I loved the way that Quinn played yesterday. Veteran, smooth, ball distributor. What's the term? The Alex Smith type play. You know what I mean? Like just do your job. Everything else
No,
is
which is fine. No, which is
it's
fine.
perfectly fine. Yeah,
I thought
people
he
want
was
to
a
call it
little.
game
I thought
management.
he was a little shaky early because he
Yeah,
had, there was a little shaky early, and he. But I think after old boy on Iowa State dropped that pick that he should have had, where he tried to throw to Whittington,
yeah,
and he didn't go on the slot fade to Worthy. The next throw he went slot fade, and he was
yeah,
like, it's actually a safer throw
yeah,
than trying to fool around with
yeah.
these
Everything else
guys
is getting
underneath.
muddy in the middle. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But he quickly made that adjustment, to
yeah.
Quinn's credit.
And
He
also,
quickly made that
I don't
adjustment.
think arm wise he's back to being 100%. And like people are really going to be hard on him. He's like, oh, you should have led AD on that ball on 3rd down. Oh, you missed AD on the touchdown. Da 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 da.
He's not 100%.
Bro,
No.
he's a month removed from an AC joint sprain, keeping him out of 2 games.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
His intermediate throws, even the accuracy at times, he's still getting it there.
Mhm.
but you can tell it's not. But the deep throws, you're just gonna have to live with it right now because he's banged up.
Yeah.
I don't. My thing is, I think he's smart. He's also making smarter decisions about when to run
Mm.
and like just taking care of himself, like understanding like
Hey, don't drop your
you're
shoulder
needed.
into a 270-pound edge, please.
We need you. We need you to stay alive. We need you to stay alive. But the second half, I thought Quinn was balling. Like he really he kind of got hot a little bit there. Especially, and I think it was in combination too with Sark setting some things up, and now we got wide open beaters and better. And he nailed every single one of them where we got those opportunities. So
Yeah. Yeah,
man,
I'm right with you, Michael. I don't get being 10-1 and hating on the QB, bro. Like I don't get it. But especially like let's talk about it too. Look at where Quinn Ewers was last year. Has Quinn
this
Ewers had a
time,
game where he just
this time
completely
last year,
that's what I'm saying. Has Quinn Ewers had a game where he just completely disappeared? We said it last year when he had a 30 incompletion game against Oklahoma State. He needed this. He needed this. That was the takeaway. Yes,
mhm.
we lost. Yes, it sucked. He got valuable experience. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to have another 30 incompletion game again in his football career. Period. Like that, just like, and we haven't seen the offense completely stall out like it did last year against TCU. I'm perfectly fine with the way Quinn is doing what he's doing, man. Is he lighting up the stat sheet? No, he doesn't need to. He really doesn't need to. But yeah, I'm right with you too,
Thank you for the super chat, Gosnell.
Ro. Xavier Philsummy, come on down. Hey, I would love to see it. I need the school that he's recruited or the school that he's committed to have a good weekend though this week. So I'll take losing out on him to get FSU a loss on their schedule. Oh, I'm glad you
Dog,
said that too, Patrick. I'm very glad you said that. I looked up some things about Bert Auburn, our kicker, yesterday, Steven. And when I tell you I'm so happy we have Bert Auburn on our team, listen, hear me out. People mad about Bert, this and that early on in his career. Bert Auburn, up to this point, just like we talked about with Cameron Dicker, has not missed a clutch kick yet. The only one that Cameron Dicker missed in a clutch situation his entire career was the Iowa State one where Sam took a
that
bad
was
snap
like
and ended up getting
60
it was a
yards.
59 yarder at the end of the game.
And it was like that. It was like very, very short. Kieran will be back. But it was a very, very, I know where he's going. That Cameron Dicker kick was very, very short. But Burt Auburn last year finished the year. I think the last 3 months of the year was perfect in the last 3 months of the season. And so just really, really consistent kicking performance and somebody who, again, in the college level, in the NFL, to me, at the NFL level, I expect there's no excuse. There's too many guys out there that you can work out that can be consistent kickers. So I don't make excuses for that. But at the college level, to have a kicker that you can rely on 50 and in as consistently as Burt is remarkable. And he, dude, those things, his kicks weren't even like up for question. I know he had the one where
In the middle.
he
Yeah, where
got
you
to
missed the one with
re-kick
the
it.
timeout?
But to me, that one I wasn't even going to count because 50 is like is stretching it for him because he doesn't have a boot like some of those other
Mhm.
guys, but he's consistent. He's consistent,
And
and when he got
also,
to kick it again, he was fine.
I want to give a huge shout out to Jeff Banks as well. But the thing on Burt is through his first 2 years, he's actually a more accurate kicker than Cameron Dicker was his first 2 years. And when he misses, like it doesn't kill you when he misses. You know what I mean? Like he'll miss an easy one against BYU or something like that. But guess what? Whenever you need him at the end of the game to make it a 2 possession game, or you need him to go win you a ball game, he's shown time and time again he's reliable in that situation. But I wanted to give a shout out to Jeff Banks. You want to know why Jeff Banks is making $1 million as a special teams coach? Because his units change the game. His units are reliable. His units get you a blocked PAT that gives you a touchdown lead after they were about to cut it 3. Like that's what he does. His units, even though it didn't end up getting short, Xavier Worthy makes one move on a punt return, and there's a clean alley where he goes untouched up the middle of the field. Do you know how rare that is in football? That shouldn't be happening. It's not like Xavier, like there's a lot of punt returns where the guy's just a better athlete than y'all. Yes, he made two guys miss, then he
Right.
ends up running to the corner, getting an edge. No, Xavier Worthy had to catch the ball, step out of the way of a gunner.
I appreciate Kieran giving his flowers to Banks here. Shout out, hey Coach Dave, what's up? This is my uncle Coach Dave here. Good win. They got to take care of business and win out. They have a shot making the college football playoffs with other teams playing each other and lose. Yeah, no, there's a shot there, man. Unfortunately, and I'm gonna see you in a few days here, Uncle, for Thanksgiving. I'll be in town. Um, but they there's a few. How should I say this? The Florida State situation, it's sad because you don't want it to happen that way, and that injury was just brutal. Um, that injury that happened was absolutely brutal with Jordan Travis, and they're gonna have to they're gonna play Louisville, ACC championship game. They got to play Florida. I don't know what the hell to expect from Florida, but it's going to be interesting how they navigate with their backup quarterback. Um, but yeah, but now Michigan. Look, I'm gonna say this though. I'm not even going to go on the Florida State thing because that's a whole different lane, and I don't want to touch on that right now. What I will touch on though is Michigan and Ohio State. Like, I just think they're undefeated, and these Big Ten teams, they just seem a tad bit fraudulent to me. Like, I really watched that Michigan Maryland game, and it was funny because a few buddies of mine were texting. It's like, are these teams good? Like really really as good as they are billed to be, or are they siloed off in that conference and just taking advantage of certain things? I'm not saying when I say good, I know they're good, but these I don't know. I don't want to see once one of them loses, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan, they are completely out of the conversation, in my opinion. You're
Preach.
completely gone. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I mean, look, the only difference is Ohio State can say, yeah, they had a big non-con win at Notre Dame.
Who's going to be a
Fully give them
four-loss
credit,
team?
but but who did Michigan play non-con? UNLV.
The My problem is a team playing in the ACC championship looked more impressive against Notre Dame than Ohio State did. Like you like the Big Ten, I think as far as if there was a one-loss team, which there's not going to be because Ohio State and Michigan get to play each other, and then they get to play Iowa, who wouldn't be a bowl eligible team in three other conferences. But
Right,
yet in the Big
right,
Ten, they're 9-2 right now.
right.
It's like I don't know, it's a joke to me. But
That's where eye tests, like, people talk about eye tests all the time, but they don't want to apply the eye test rule to the Big Ten because those are money making schools for them. Let's just be
mhm,
honest. They want if you're college football, they wanted the Ohio State Michigan game, two undefeateds. They needed whatever it takes to get to this game and to build that game because they were promoting the game halfway through the Maryland joint. Let's just
yeah.
be honest. Okay.
It's
So
why you throw an intentional grounding penalty on a ball that's clearly thrown towards the area of a wide receiver. Yeah.
it, it's ridiculous. Now, last year, granted, there weren't that many great teams, and the quarter, you had a CJ Stroud, right? Like, so
Mhm.
it was a little different where I was like, okay, I didn't have a problem with Ohio State one loss getting in last year because there were so few teams worthy of it. But this year, where we've got the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is a better conference than the Big Ten this year. It's not even up for. I don't even have to think about it.
Not even
I don't have to
debatable.
think about it. It's not even debatable.
I think
So
the
you
ACC is a
got
better
teams
conference.
like Oregon and Washington who are sitting here, but they don't get looked at the same way with their head to head that people will look at Michigan, Ohio State. But I believe both of those unbeaten teams are better than Ohio State and Michigan. I am not impressed by Michigan. I'm not
I
impressed
haven't
by
been impressed by
Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah. When you have a guy that's supposed to be a first round quarterback and the past 2 weeks you completely take the ball out of his hands. For Penn State, I understand why. When you're that dominant running the football, stick with it. I like that. Against against Maryland,
Absolutely right,
he just
Quentin.
could
The
not make
price of
throws.
admission this year, the price of admission this year is $500, and last year it was $50.
Yep,
That is something.
100% true. Like this is the thing. Last season, Steven, if I'd have told you right now, we're going into the Texas Tech. We're 10-1 with a win over Alabama. And I was telling you right now, we're not sealed into the conference championship game yet.
I
And
would say you're
on top of
crazy.
that, on top of that, we need help to go to the playoff if we win out. You'd have been like, how? With a win over Alabama, who was our loss to? I'd be like, oh, you. You'd be like, so you're telling us a 12-1 conference champion probably won't make it, even though TCU last year at 12-1 non-conference champion made it? I'd have told you about it. It's exactly what we're dealing with right now. And of course, I will say
It,
this: if it ain't one thing, it's always another. I say that so much with this Texas team. If it's not one thing, it's another. You got to get past all the humps. But I hope everyone's realizing now. Steven, I have a question for you too. I think for most of us 3 weeks ago, it was just like, dude, playoffs, cool. No playoffs, cool. I just want to win the Big 12. Now that time's getting closer. Now you get past Iowa State on the road. Now it's looking like you're going to be in the Big 12 championship. How you feeling now about the playoff? Because I'm thinking, yeah, I was thinking 3 weeks ago, yeah, I just want to win the Big 12. We win the Big 12 and get left out. I'm pissed. I'm
right.
pissed, Steven.
I would no. I mean, from a standpoint of how what the way we scheduled our schedule this year, from the standpoint of again eye test of looking across the board at other teams, 100% hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, and I've been on the play, but that's also why I've been on the whole like how we look and
Yeah.
making sure that we are, as Sark says, are we playing our best brand of football
Mhm.
week over week? And so this past week with the challenge, the unique challenge of going to Iowa and all that, that's why we're not over here style pointing the win. Like we know how challenging that was and the level of difficulty for this team and what they had to exercise with the injuries that just occurred.
Mhm.
But now that we've gotten over that and looking at all right, Michigan, some of these teams are starting to look really, really suspect and
Yeah.
funny in the light. It's like, dog, like, why not us? Like now it's like, all right, we probably are one of the four best teams in the
I've been
country.
saying this
And that's
from
the
the
whole
jump.
point.
Yeah. It's about getting the four best teams in. I've been saying this from the jump. I wholeheartedly believe when I'm thinking about the playoff right now, it's hard for me not to think about Georgia, back-to-back defending national champions. I'm thinking which teams would give them a game. I don't think Michigan or Ohio State give them a close game right now. I don't. I don't think a game with Georgia and Michigan, as much as you guys might like Michigan, I don't think a game between Georgia and Michigan right now is competitive. I don't.
No,
What are they going to try to run the
no,
ball up the teeth of that Georgia defense?
no, it's not. They're gonna make
I don't think
JJ
a game with
McCarthy.
Alabama and Michigan is a competitive game right now. You're going to run the ball up the teeth of their defense? That's
Alabama's
continuously
defense
getting
might be
better?
better than Georgia's right now.
It. It's what I'm saying. Jalen Milroe might be in New York. That's how much they've turned around and gotten better. To me, I think it's I think there's four teams that are showing the ability to be elite on both sides of the ball. that are showing the ability to be complete football teams. It's Bama, it's Georgia, it's Texas, and it's Oregon. Those are the four teams that I think right now are showing the capabilities of being really damn good on one side of the ball and really damn good on the other side of the ball as well. I don't see that from Michigan or Ohio State.
I agree with you. The problem is they're going to let one of those Big Ten teams is going to be in.
It's
That's
tough.
the problem.
Yeah. It
I
would have
agree
gotten
with you.
nasty if
Those are really the four best. Is how you just outlined it because you know um, the way, for example, like Georgia yesterday really impressed me at Tennessee. Now, I know Tennessee was already coming off a really bad loss at Missouri where they got blown out, but they had won 14 straight games at Tennessee
yeah.
and hadn't lost there in 2 years. And Georgia, and then they give up the 75-yard opening touchdown, boom, boom, boom. And Georgia just answers, bro.
Yeah.
Offensively with Bobo, the way Bobo and Carson Beck are working together, they seem to have a mind meld now. Brock Bowers, he took the government serum that they had in that Captain America took to fix his leg because he came back in record time.
Yeah.
Um, they, I mean, they Georgia's really good offensively. That's the part nobody's really talking
Yeah.
about.
I
Georgia is really good offensively,
I'm gonna say this too.
and
I don't think any team in the country beats Georgia this year. I just even
I
us.
think we
I
could
think
beat
if we play
Georgia.
our best game,
I think we could beat them.
I think we play competitively with them. I think if Carson
Yeah.
Beck is playing at the level that he's playing right now, I don't think anyone beats that team.
So let me clarify. I believe Georgia deserves to be ranked number one. I believe they are the best overall team. I agree. I'm not, but to Marlon's thing about, I'm not scared of anybody personally. I think any
Yeah.
matchup Texas can win. I see a path to victory. I agree. Yeah, Georgia should be favored if we played each other. Uh, I'm not that type of delusional fan either. All right, let's not trip. But especially, I would need. I feel like to really beat them, I would need Jonathan Brooks too in that
Yeah.
game. You know, I would need all my. If they're going to have all their soldiers, I need all my soldiers.
Yeah.
Like so, but I do think that in any scenario of a game, because we've seen these playoff games get really weird really quick too. In any game, we could match up in like I'm not scared of Michigan. I'm not scared of Ohio State. I'm not scared of we just played Washington in a bowl game last year and they beat us.
Yeah.
But matchup wise, like, it wasn't a crazy game. We weren't getting our ass whooped,
Yeah.
right? So
They scare
all
us
these
matchup
teams I know we
wise.
can play with.
That's true. I don't think there's a team in the country that I think we're gonna get routed by. I just think
Mhm.
Georgia's the best team in the country. And when they're playing together, I don't think there's a team that can beat them. But that's just I don't know. That's just my overall take about Georgia. But it's tough right now too, just because you have all this. Like I can't wait for college football next season. If there was ever a season for a 12-team playoff, I think everyone agrees it would be this year. You'd have fun. You'd have a really really fun 12-team playoff this year too. Are you hearing me? Okay, my
Undefeated Big Ten champs getting in, brother. We're just saying that we believe the conference overrated, but they're getting in.
yeah,
I want to make that clear. Whoever wins is as long as they win. Whoever wins their next two games, which is the big game next week, and then Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, that's an
yeah,
automatic. That's one
yeah.
spot gone.
I think
I also believe the SEC. I believe whoever wins the SEC is in.
that's where it gets interesting because it depends. To me, that depends on how Texas looks in the next 2 weeks. Texas goes
Okay.
out there and dominates Texas Tech, then they dominate Oklahoma State, like just absolutely smack them and start looking like the team that did beat Alabama. I don't think you can like do that. But you have to think like the committee sets an insane precedent by saying head-to-head victories don't matter. And it's not like they played us in a tight game in our house where we had all the momentum in the world. No. We went on the road and beat them. And if I'm
Decisively. Yeah.
Texas, and they do that after that. And I understand, like, I think Alabama has looked more impressive than we have since that game. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But at the same time, you set an insane precedent by essentially saying these early season non-cons don't matter. And if that's the case, why are we going to play Ohio State in week 2 later on? If it's not going to count, if it's not going to matter.
Then we should. Yeah, no, I agree because it's too early in the season. Like I understand it's there's nuance there, right? Because I understand teams getting better as the season comes along and all those type of things, but you know, I just wish it was better defined of how much weight something goes into it. But then if it's too defined, then it's really the BCS again, right? So it's it's kind of the damned if you do, damned if you don't. What's funny though is when the rankings first came out, we were also the beneficiary of that too. When OU had one loss and we had one loss, we were still
Yeah,
ranked ahead of OU and we had the head to head win.
yeah.
And everybody's argument was if Texas and OU played right now, who would be favored?
And it was
And
also, but also, it's the same reason why we're ranked behind Oregon right now. The committee has shown this year they care about who your loss is to and what your
that's
loss is.
the thing. They care about who your loss was to. And
Yeah.
right now,
So,
Oregon's loss was the most impressive loss.
yeah.
That's
And my thing
that's
is,
what that's
exactly. But also, in my mind, I'm thinking Alabama's loss is more impressive than Oregon's. Let's not get it twisted. Oregon's resume is not better than Alabama's. It's not. They haven't beaten as many ranked opponents. They have 3 victories over teams with winning records. No, sorry, 2 victories over teams with winning records right now. Like Alabama has argued like the same level of loss. But because you can't rank Oregon, no, because you can't rank Bama ahead of Texas, and they believe that their loss is better. It's all messed up right now because of that. So it's weird because
yeah.
Bama should be ranked above Oregon based off of their resumes, but their case is, well, Texas shouldn't be ranked above Oregon, and because we can't rank Texas above Oregon, and Texas has to be ahead of Bama, we're just gonna put both of them behind them. It's crazy.
It's funny too. Well, the thing is, yeah, this is where I was going. The only thing I can say is Bama lost at home by 10 and Oregon lost on the road by 3.
Yeah.
That so that's that the context
But
is
this is my thing though.
is important there.
If you're gonna have them behind all season throughout your rankings, how are you gonna switch it up at the end? Is it because they beat Georgia? They're gonna say,
If they
okay,
beat
well,
Georgia,
Georgia.
yeah, then
But this is my thing though. If you're going to jump Bama above Texas because they have a better win, what is Texas's best win? Bama, who would now be a one-loss SEC champion who beat Georgia. That would go on our resume too. So I think it's like it like I think if they do this, it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I do think Bama has done enough to be a playoff team, 100%. My problem is it's crazy when you really think about it, simply because you lost at home by 10 points. Like, how are you going to tell Texas that their resume isn't enough, or they don't have a good enough win, or we're going to rank Bama above because we have the best win? We have a win over
and
you.
and if we
You're
had
a
done
better. We have a
that
better win than
if
you
we
do.
had done that in week 12 versus week 2,
Yeah.
I feel like the weight would be different. So we're also getting punished for when it happened.
Yes, but I don't know. I think desperately the country needs Florida State to lose, and then this whole thing will figure itself out.
Eh, That's what I was saying. It's kind of sad, dog.
Yeah.
Because Florida State's like the wounded animal that's still allowed to be in
Florida
the.
State. Can
It's just sad.
you imagine what Georgia would do to Florida State right now? And that's why you're seeing a lot of talking heads say, like, hey, the committee is now going to be faced with a question. Like Dan Wilkin tweeted that he was just like, the committee's now going to be faced with a situation where they're saying, do we want to put in Florida State if they go undefeated with a backup quarterback up against Georgia, hypothetically, or do we want to put in Texas? Like
They're
which
gonna have to do the Ohio State thing, dude. They're gonna have to go crazy. I'm telling you, this is what Urban Meyer did when he lost JT Barrett,
Yeah. You got to start
and he
smacking the
really.
dog crap out of everybody. You have to kill Texas Tech this week. You have to kill them. You have to kill them, then you have to kill Oklahoma State in the championship if they make it.
But that's what Mike Norvell needs to do for Florida State, because if they skate by Florida, who sucks, and then
Florida
Louisville,
doesn't suck
look,
though. Florida doesn't suck.
dog,
Florida lost by them by 7 points last year in their house. Keep in mind, Florida just gave Missouri the game of their lives, and they're going to the swamp to play them.
I know, I know. They have that's okay. Let me rephrase. Florida is an unfortunate Lemony Snicket's type of team.
That's true.
Um, what I saw last night in the Missouri game, they had the game won. It's 4th and 17
Yeah.
to seal the game, and you don't even bother covering Luther Burden. That's why I say it's like situationally, y'all are trash. And then they let Missouri get all the way down to the 10-yard line and kick like a 30-yard field goal to walk off. Like, that's embarrassing. When you literally had them boys, Florida had that shit wrapped up last night. 4th and 17. But no, yeah, Florida this year is a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Florida Gators football is right now. But you're right, Kieran. They have the talent to give everybody problems, especially Florida State next week in a rivalry game. You're right about that. I just think that Florida's going to find a way to lose, because that's what they do. And then the Louisville game. Louisville's what, 10-1, right?
Yes. Louisville, yeah. Louisville's the game that like I think gets scary for them, especially if you can't match the offensive output.
Yeah, I
I
don't think
I think
Florida
Florida
State.
State drops one of these 2 games.
Yeah, I think they're going to drop one. That's tough. Jordan Travis was one of their best football players on the team. Period.
He was the biggest difference
So
maker they
that's
had. It does seem,
you know
I
they
will say this, though, it does seem like Florida State's just holding on by a thread right now.
that's
Yeah.
that's where college football is. It's also a marathon. I talk about going through wars. You lose soldiers. Florida State had early wars. They had the first war of the season versus LSU,
Mm.
right? And then I think week 4 they had the Clemson game. And like they've had these, they yeah, they won, but as they were winning, they were getting wounded like more and more and more. Whereas like freaking teams like Michigan and Ohio State, they don't even get their wars to the back end. So these brothers are just chilling.
Yeah. Sorry.
they,
Yeah.
they they chilling the whole season. But look, let me get back to Texas real quick before we sign out of here. I wanted to show the stats. What's the note on Xavier Worthy, his health? We do need
Um,
to comment.
he seemed good afterwards. Uh, we're gonna have to see. The only thing that concerns me is it's a short week. I don't think he's gonna be out an extended period of time. The only thing that concerns me is the fact that it's a short week right now.
Yeah, and it was, what was it, a knee, a leg injury, or
I think it was an ankle.
ankle? Okay. Well, I mean, you try. All you can do is just try to treat it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
leave
treatment,
him
treatment,
though.
treatment, and then you just have to see how it responds in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, he was walking on it.
or the Friday morning.
Yeah, he was walking on it. He is smiling in the locker room. Seems to be okay. One
I was pulling up the stats.
second. I'm gonna see if I have my inhaler with me. I gotta take that real quick. One second.
Yeah, X went down at the end of the game yesterday. Not down, but he went to the locker room and had the whole bit yesterday. So, what's up, Quinn? How you doing, man?
What's up, boss?
How you doing? What do you what you wanted to come up and share some thoughts with us, man? What's on your heart, man? Happy 10-1 Sunday.
I appreciate it, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Um, it was great, man. It was beautiful. It was a nice, thought out game plan. Maybe this is the delusional fan in me, but like when we were struggling in the beginning, I was like, Sark is waiting. He's waiting on that 20 script until after halftime. I said, he's just kind of feeling that right now. And we're going to get the good stuff after halftime. I'm good with it, man. It was perfect. At no point in that game did I thought we were going to lose.
No, I felt us physically in control of the game, if you will. And I thought we did a great job of navigating, right. And when we got into the second half and then the beaters started to come to light, it was phenomenal. And we counterpunched. Like they landed a really nice beater on us on that when they went for it on, I think was it 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 around their own 30, and they had the big touchdown. That was a
Mhm.
great counterpunch by Iowa State. And I was like, man, we're up 2 scores, frustrated. And then we went right back and scored again. So, even that there of just answering and countering and not getting down that's why I'm impressed, more impressed with this win. Because in recent weeks, when Iowa State hit that big play, we would just kind of be stunned for a while and then be on life support like the last 2 minutes of the game. But that wasn't the case yesterday.
Yeah, I think per usual, anytime that we needed a score offensively in any game that we've been down this year, we've been on point. We've gotten it. So it was kind of par for the course yesterday. And I've never seen, like, maybe this is some recency bias. I've never seen such a minimal play like that block extra point return for 2 point. It totally nullified their touchdown.
Momentum swing.
It was
Uh-huh.
huge. It went from, yeah, we're back in it, to like that crowd was done. And it was just 2 points, but it was so much bigger than 2 points.
That so plays like that to your point, that's like dunking on somebody,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's only 2 points, but it's like demoralizing.
Hmm.
When you see somebody block your kick and then house it, like I know it's just like that just what the hell, right? Because now that whole drive ended with us celebrating in the end zone
That little slide was
before we
funny.
get the ball back.
When he slid like a little kid, that was hilarious.
Shout out to Austin Jordan having some fun out there.
No doubt.
Oh, sports fan Jack, thank you for the super chat. I wanted to post this up here. He said Texas will make the playoff. Georgia wins out. Ohio State wins out. Washington wins out. Florida State loses in the ACC championship game, um, which would obviously open up the spot for Texas.
I think
I feel like that's the cleanest path for Texas to get in, right?
this is my delusion. OSU, Oregon, Alabama, Texas. Us playing Ohio State first round. Let's get it.
Hold on, say that again.
OSU, Oregon,
Kieran, you're muted.
Alabama, Texas.
I was saying I would absolutely love that scenario.
It's delusional as hell.
I don't know if it's delusional. I can see Bama beating Georgia, and I can see FSU dropping a game.
Yeah.
And as long as Ohio State wins this weekend, I mean I would say that's realistic. I think more than anything, bro, I think everyone needs to be Florida and Louisville fans the next 2 weeks.
No one believes
Got
in
it.
us, man. Do you listen to what's it called? Cover 3 podcast. They said the last thing they want is to see Texas in the playoff for us to get ran off the field by anybody else.
It's hilarious,
That's
bro.
not going to happen.
It,
That's not
That's what
that
they
like, and
said.
I'm
bro,
not
it's
even saying that. No, but
crazy.
I'm not even saying that as a Texas fan, though. It's just as somebody that, again, watching all of college football this year, Texas in the trenches, just in the trenches alone. Tell me how we're getting run off the field by anybody just with what we still have. We have the two highest graded defensive tackles in the country on the same team. We
I
just
don't think
held a team that not look at this. Look at this. 9 yards rushing. What are we talking about? Like when people say that, I'm just talking about what you brought up, Clayton, in terms of the,
I
the,
get.
the
I
commentary.
don't
But
believe them, but I can get how they feel that way watching us play. But we also know that the best Texas shows up when the top of the country shows up. I think Kieran said it best
yeah,
last
but
week.
our flaw was beating the crap out of people and then letting them back in.
Yes,
Like
that's
my
They went, we
nope,
went back to
not one team has come out and jumped us and gotten
yeah.
up 17-0. What game have we played with this group? Have we had to crawl out of some massive hole? OU was the game where we were behind the most and we still took the lead.
erased it. Done. Couple possessions. We
That
went.
the OU was the biggest mark because we came out throwing picks. But other than that, where show me the evidence of Texas every
Getting
game
run off
we're
the
up
field.
multiple scores.
See, this is the thing. They watch the very ends of these games, and they don't actually watch us play football. This is the same thing that it's the same reason why everyone was saying we're going to get smacked by Bama last year, LSU. What they fail to realize is because they don't watch Texas football, we get up and down for this competition. And also, in every game but 3 out of the 11 games that we've played this year, 8 of them we have had 20-point leads in. We've had 3 close games out of those 8, right? Because we ended up smoking those leads. But at the end of the day, you have double-digit victories against everyone except for a game where you had to play your backup quarterback against TCU, and then another game where your starting quarterback got hurt. Then you had the OU game where you lost. But my main thing is like, dude, like they're not watching us play.
I
It's
agree.
it's very clear when you're watching the games who the better team is.
I agree.
Exactly.
In every single game, have you felt like Texas wasn't the bet? The only team that I would say maybe like we didn't look like the better team was OU, just because we were making
OU.
mistake after mistake, and they looked really really good that day.
They didn't look better than. I don't think they look better than
I don't
us.
think they're better than us. Don't get me wrong, but that day they were doing what good teams do, and we were doing what teams that aren't there yet do.
Our team is what showed up at the first half of TCU and the first half of Kansas State. You got 100 yards at halftime, and we blowing the doors off of you. That's
Yeah,
us. We just need to do it for 4 quarters.
and I will say this though too, you can't sit here and this what this run defense has turned into. They've gotten better throughout the season. This is now 2 out of the last 3 weeks where you hold teams under 50 yards rushing.
And,
Do
we
we
can
give up?
do it
Did we
with
give
a
up?
4-man
How many
front
did we give
and a
up against
3-man
BYU?
front.
We haven't given up 100 yards rushing since the Oklahoma game.
Quarterback scrambling.
We gave up 14 against Houston, 95 against Kansas State. Against TCU, you gave up 88, and then against Iowa State, or actually no, sorry, 30 something against 95 against BYU, 30 something against Kansas State, 88 against TCU, and then 9 against Iowa State.
And those teams were throwing to get back in the game and were more,
The fact that in college football,
desperation.
they're abandoning it. They've completely abandoned it. Like they're abandoning it, abandoning Jesus Christ, the run game completely. It's insane.
I don't know if team rankings is updated yet, but I'm gonna see. Because it's just, again, it's one of those things where I think we really need to look at. All right, so let me pull this up here so we can look at all the metrics. I don't know if this is updated for last night. It might be. I'm gonna share real quick. William said that's a wild stat, Karen. Since OU is tough, um, and those are games away from DKR
Man, you know
or any of those teams
what was a
from
big deal
away
last
from
night?
DKR.
Johnny Barron played corner a lot, and I think that was some crucial.
Yeah,
That was
that
real.
was another one of my takes. I think, and I'm not saying this disparagingly. I think this is where his future is at. I think Terrence Brooks. I think his move to safety is like started, and I think it's because I like him in coverage back there. Now, I did hear a concern yesterday about him moving to safety. It was just like about the physicality and the ability to tackle in space. That's something that I think he'd have to improve on. But in terms of like coverage potential, I think Terrence Brooks is going to be incredible. Like either playing more on like what Ryan Watts is doing or moving somewhere else. But the fact that like last night it was just like we moved to a 3-man rotation because we just kept giving up those slants. Jade is so freaking good.
He's insane.
Jade Barron is, and this is the same thing I said too. Like I want Texas and our DB room to get to a point where I'm looking at, I'm saying, okay, we have multiple NFL starters in our
Yeah.
defensive back. Starters. There, I think we have NFL players right back there. I think we have guys that it's going to take some time, but I want multiple NFL starters. Jade Barron is a starter in the NFL. If he's on the NFL roster right now, he'd be starting somewhere.
You don't think he's too small?
You can't tell me there's 5 DBs on every NFL roster better than Jade Barron. There's not, especially given what he does. He's so smart. He's so savvy. He's so physical. He's a sound tackler. He knows where to be. He's an NFL starting DB, and that's where I think Texas has to like continue to improve, whether it's recruiting, whatever it is. I love the fact that we're taking like this recruiting cycle, especially we're really getting corners, like real corners. This cycle. This is insane.
So rush defense, opponents rushing yards per game. We're fifth, 83 yards. They're running the ball 29 times. We're allowing 2.9 yards per rush.
That's insane.
2.9. And look, if you think about it, their rushing values, this is also numbers. When you think about it, it all starts to make sense, right? So this correlates directly with each other. They only can run the ball 43% of the time against us. Why is that? Because we're in the lead the whole time.
Yeah.
So because of that, people are passing, which is why they're passing almost 57% of the time against us. And so we're ranked, that you have to throw. We're forcing you into a lane.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have to do a better, I think we have to do a better overall job of handling that, assuming we're always going to be ahead. But damn it, people are throwing the ball so much against us.
Yeah.
So, relative to how it's handled, we're not terrible. Like I remember 2 years ago, Kieran, this whole thing used to be in the hundreds, and
Yeah.
now we're in like the 50s, right? Even yards, like more on the efficiency stuff, like yards per pass or interceptions thrown. Like we've improved in those areas as well. Red zone scoring, we were second coming in, so I think we dropped down to number 3, but we're number 1 in the country in opponent third down conversion.
That's crazy.
Look at,
And we want to talk about PK as well, brother. 2 years
Dude,
ago, the defense was giving up 201.6 yards per game. Per game, 200 yards on the ground per game.
That's wild.
We were getting run all over.
and we can see our offensive metrics here as well. I mean, as I said, we're steady Eddie in the 30s, right? So nothing's terrible. I think we're actually pretty good. The thing that's terrible for us offensively, it's been third down percentage. But if they were to clean that up and get that into the 40s, that's something they can work on the rest of the season. Because even yesterday, I think they were 5 for 12 on third down. But also that some of the challenges we've had with our third downs is it comes off like a holding call or something else where we're in third and 12, third and 13, right? And so I'm curious to know what our third down conversion rate is, broken down by distance to go, if that makes sense.
It does.
Um,
Because how many of our missed third downs are because Sark knows he's going to go for it on fourth? He was like, "This ain't no big deal."
that
Very
is
true.
true. That is very true.
That is actually hilarious that you say that, Quentin, because he's definitely done that a double-digit amount of times this season.
He's like,
It's not like Sark is
2
like,
yards because I know I'm about to get this 8 the next play.
yeah.
Yo,
Turnovers.
there's a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean, overall, and you see our opponents never get called for penalties here.
I saw you post
Because
that yesterday. You put 0 for 1 for 0 yards.
Yeah, we rank 122nd in opponent penalties, 123rd in opponent penalties per game,
That's wild.
128th in penalty yardage. This is insanity.
Especially with that D
When
line.
you have when you think about what we have defensively or offensively, this is crazy.
Yup.
The amount of weapons you have, the amount of talent you have on both sides of the ball. Oh my God.
it's so bad, dude. We generate nothing in terms of calls.
Texas offense. Is this opponent penalties? Do they have opponent penalties for Texas offense? Or is that just in general?
Nah,
Like that's
it's just in totality. Yeah,
oh
not
man.
going to be
Wow. We rank like that low in terms of getting calls.
That's great.
When you have Tavontre Sweat and Byron Murphy getting interior pressure, which is like interior pressure is paramount for holding calls. Paramount for holding calls, and you don't get any.
Man, I can say this.
Go ahead, Quinn.
I can say, man, I think we manage it pretty good because if you go on other boards, OU, that's all they bitch about is calls and how we're going to get screwed because we're leaving the Big 12. I think we've done pretty well considering they're not screwing us out of games. I don't think.
No,
well, we're not heavily penalized either, right? Like this is not. If you told me
earlier today, man, like he did that shit, bro. Excuse my language. Kelvin Banks.
No, but hold on.
Quinn would have got.
Hold on. Let me say this though. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. The penalties per game and yards per we're like we haven't had a Mike McCarthy Dallas Cowboys 14-15 penalty, give up 200 yards type game. That's my thing. Like we've been disciplined too, or if you could say that they've called it, even, that's fine. But to Kieran's point, just our defensive line alone should have us well out of this for just we don't get holding calls, period, on the other team. Like at all.
Not at all.
For having the number again, let me say it again. You have the number 1 and the number 2 ranked defensive tackles in the country, and they get no calls. And this is something did Sark not bring this up last week? Right? Sark brought this up to the media. For Sark to say it to the media means it's a problem.
If we make it to the playoffs, it'll bode well, and we'll be able to tell a difference because it won't be Big 12 refs.
That's a good point. We'll have different officials at that point. Yeah, no, I'll send you the site. It's just team rankings. I think what is it? Yeah, teamrankings.com.
So question for you two. Who would you rather play in the Big 12 championship game? OU, K-State, or OSU?
Ooh.
I'm OSU all the way.
So look, because
Kieran wants OSU.
They're easy,
I
easy.
want. Listen, look, I want OSU too, just because I don't think like if it was like a question between us and another team, I think it's very clear. I think it's very clear right now that the committee's just like we need something to go our favor in our
Yeah,
favor.
yeah. Perfect
If,
even.
if there was another situation, then I would say I want OU just so you can avenge your only loss, and I think that makes you like have a really really solid resume, especially if you can go out there and smack OU. Plus, I want that get back, but I think our easiest path to victory. I don't think any game's easy, first and foremost, but I think OSU strengths against our strengths, I think it favors us heavily. Please try to run Ollie Gordon 30 times
He'll
into the
have
team.
50. At most, he'll have 50 yards. At most.
Yeah, like that's what I'm like. It's I don't want to say that because like teams can't like if someone's gonna scheme the shiznit out of some run game, it's gonna be Mike Gundy in that game. I promise you that. Promise you that. Like TCU was able to get some things going on the ground as well. But I also for this factor and this factor alone, there's one team that Steve Sarkisian has not beat as a head coach at the University of Texas in this in the conference. There's also one team that we are not going out on a win against, a part of the hateful eight left in this conference, and that is Oklahoma State. If we play Oklahoma State, I want to smack and I cannot stand Mike Gundy. And guess what? Because it's Oklahoma State, the refs are going to be incredibly bad. And I know we were just talking about refs. There's something about Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Mike Gundy with his mullet head ass that just it is awful. I cannot describe it. All the way back from 2015, it has just been abysmal, absolutely abysmal, referee wise. And I guarantee we're going to get Kevin Marr on that. It's going to be awful. But I want to exercise every last demon of this conference. And Mike Gundy's another one of them.
They BYU's
I
fighting
think for
for a bowl
me,
game next week.
I want to answer the question too. Um, I kind of do want to play OU again and avenge the loss. I mean, that's where I'm
They're
at.
not very good anymore. I don't want to do that, man.
I want someone. This
Well,
is my thing, Steven. I also want someone that we can put a blowout on resume against. And I think if we have a chance to, I don't think OU is the team to get to smack the dog crap out.
okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's a combination of Oklahoma State's a run team, and they got a statue at quarterback, and that's a good match for us. we
yeah,
get
I mean, Oklahoma at this point, depending on who you talk to, might be Jackson Arnold the rest of the way.
I not the rest of the way, but he's definitely going to play this week. They play on Friday.
man. He ain't what
Yeah.
everybody used to be talking about. Like I didn't see nothing special about that dude. That there was like he better than DG.
He's not better
Well,
than DG
we're
right
gonna
now. He's a freshman, but I think he will be long term.
yeah, and here's the other thing too, because this is the same thing about Cedric Baxter. It's different even as a freshman when you start the week knowing you're the guy.
Makes sense.
When you start the week, because Cedric Baxter had a full week of practice, not having to look over his shoulder when he's going to take it out for Jonathan Brooks. It's like you knew the game plan was going to be made for you. You knew that you were going to get a certain amount of touches. Barring injury, you're active, right? And so same thing with Jackson Arnold now. Like Jackson Arnold had to come in last week, so I wasn't expecting him to be like I expected him to be doughy-eyed and OU having to really hand the ball off and help him out, which they did. But next week he's going to have this whole week. It's just him, right? And the same thing with Cedric Baxter for us. So that's the thing with freshmen that you can get them comfortable once they're starting to get all the reps. And
That looked like
going.
a bad last. Like his demeanor and him just going about his business. I said, "Okay, boy, I see you."
He caught 5 balls for us
He
too.
looked real good. Like man.
I think he's the best receiving back hands wise that we have. Like, other than Jaden.
Good,
I think
man.
Jaden's really, really
He
good.
looked real good. Man, we got some dogs, man. I'm hopeful.
I'm liking the little 1-2 punch that they got though too. It's a little thunder lightning action, man.
Man, even
I like it.
Keelan and his little pitter patter feet.
Yeah.
He like a little missile.
I like it, man.
I can't get the Sonic the
I
Hedgehog thing out of my mind though. Now that you
I
said
saw
that,
that.
but
But dun, 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 dun,
Jaden
dun,
really
dun.
does run like Sonic, bro. Just like
Jaden runs like Sonic.
he
I just
runs like
realized it.
Sonic, bro.
Jaden Blue runs like Sonic. Y'all
Yeah,
crazy.
and that's the other thing though
Like there
too
was a
about like
sweep. There was a sweep or something. It was to get us. I think it was to get Burt closer, and Burt hit the field goal.
yeah,
And it was the fastest 6 or 7 yards I've ever seen
He was
somebody
out here.
get.
yeah.
Hey, we need to get
Nah,
him
he's
more
so
screens,
cool.
man.
And this is my thing though too about said right. So he had, I know at the end of the score sheet it says 20 for 117. He had 117 at
Mhm.
18 carries. It was like the last two, like last drive where he's just running into like they're selling out to stop the
Nothing
run
else.
because they got to try to get the ball back. Right. To me, that 6.5 yards a carry that he was averaging, I think his longest run was like 14, 15 yards. I love
Yeah.
that style of play for him too. It's very, in my opinion, Najee Harris-esque, just because he's this big back. Najee was never going out like Najee did have his big plays. Don't get me wrong, but the average Najee Harris game in college was I'm gonna kill you with 10, 15 yard runs or 6 yard runs, and I'm going to get the tough yardage. And over the course of a game, that really wears on a team. It really, really, really wears on him. And that's why I like the fact that you had Cedric and you had Jonathan Brooks. You saw that later on in the game against Houston. We were just able to one, boom, 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 right back at you over and over and over again. It's why you've had these drives late in the games where you're able to just keep giving it to him. That's hard to tackle in the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter, yeah.
It's hard to wrap him up in the fourth quarter, man. He's 6'2", 215 pounds.
It's
At the end of the day, bro, he's not fully like into that bruiser type thing yet. But with another year of strength and conditioning, I think that's what Cedric Baxter is really going to be. He's going to be a guy that's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Except they're not paper cuts; they're flicks. They're hard little flicks that
There.
end up bruising
Yeah.
you at the end of the
on
game.
your back of
And
your
then by
hand.
the
You're
end of the
like,
game, you're like, stop hitting me, bro.
that's
I wanna highlight this comment here from Catch the Wave. And thank you guys for everybody that's on here, the 308 on here. Hit that like button, subscribe. We're gonna wrap up in a few minutes here because I gotta get some things ready before the Cowboys kick off at noon against the Carolina Panthers. But Catch the Wave here said Baxter looked like a young Cedric Benson last night. I'll be honest with you, that was kind of where I was feeling. And because that's what Cedric Benson at his best is exactly what you just described, Kieran, where it was and granted, that was a different way of playing football back then where we were giving backs 32, 35 carries every week and in the out of the eye and just boom, 6 yards, seven, and just gashing people. But that's how Cedric Benson ran. He ran hard. He ran. That's why so many people love him as a Texas fan because you knew in the third and fourth quarter it would break teams, especially and that's when he would always hit his bigger runs and really
Mm,
start taking off. And
yeah.
I see that with Cedric Baxter with his build because he's big, he's thicker like Cedric was.
Mhm.
But yesterday it's like boxing and the body blows. It was just several body blows and it's demoralizing. Um, for the defense. And again, for Quinn in the offense, it keeps us on schedule. I never felt like we were getting the only thing that was knocking us off schedule is when we would hold or commit some sort of infraction. Or later on if you took a sack. But I never felt like we were killing ourselves trying to run the football and it would knock us into 2nd and 9, right? Or 2nd and 11 because we just keep going or our backs are getting tackled in the backfield. Thought they were very proficient and I like what you said, death by all those cuts and slashing. That's how he ran last night. And as a freshman to do that, that's a peek into what he will be as a player. I had a buddy text me yesterday and I'm gonna ask this question. Somebody asked me, this is before Cedric Baxter got the 100 yards, by the way.
Hmm.
Why was he a 5-star? A lot of people asking that. No, it is
That's
Quinn.
great.
Hey,
Google.
I know. Kieran, you got asked the same questions too. I'm sure by some
Yeah.
people, or like people ask me, "Hey, why is he a 5-star?" Blah blah blah, and because the thing is when they're thinking about Bijan,
Yes.
and they
Eh,
equate 5-star to Oh, go ahead,
That's the
Kieran. Go
problem.
ahead.
This is the problem. Okay, you see 5-star running back, and you're thinking, well, we just had a 5-star running back. We just had a top running back in this class. We just had. Think about all the other 5-star running backs that weren't generational running back talents like Bijan Robinson. There's been 2 running backs in the past 20 years with the same level of prospect as Bijan Robinson. You know what their names were? Saquon Barkley and Adrian Peterson. There hasn't really been too many running back prospects with that high account. Maybe Leonard Fournette. Maybe Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I
Dog,
would
we're
say
talking about
Fournette
one of the
coming
best
out.
running
Yeah.
backs in college football the past 10, 15 years. Like, of
Hmm.
course, it's going to be a little bit different, bro. Like, I don't know. There's like great. Like, I think Dalvin Cook was amazing at Florida State. I think there was a bunch of different running backs. Dog, it's his freshman year. Like he's still getting everything else figured out. He's going from a like from Florida ball like in the Orlando area to now playing at like college. He needs the reps. He needs the carries. He needs that time, and he's getting better. It's been my main thing. He's getting so much better. And there's even been games like it's weird that like nobody gives him credit for the Houston game. I thought he was better than Jonathan Brooks in that game. He was really solid in the Houston game. And I don't know. I just for me, everybody sees this the star ranking and they're thinking this and this and that. The fact that we're 10-1 right now and people are pissing and moaning about Quinn Ewers' play still. Brother, he's better than 95% of the country at quarterback. He's just not the top guy right now. Bro, he's
If
better than
you're the
98% of the
people,
country at quarterback.
he is the thing. I think the thing that people with Quinn, people are holding him is the same thing we're talking about with Cedric Baxter. Though they're holding him against his ranking.
Yes.
That's still the problem with Quinn. They're
I mean,
holding him.
even then though,
I
would
don't.
you
I don't.
say
I no longer see how, especially once Malik got in there and you saw Malik have some of the same challenges that Quinn showed last year, and
yeah.
knowing what our offense is, and also seeing Quinn has grown, Quinn has improved from last year. That I don't think that's debatable. Whether you look at the film or you look at him statistically or at any quantifiable measure,
Yeah.
I think that people look at Quinn Ewers and they see he was still a perfect rated quarterback, and I'm not seeing him look like Drake May. I'm not seeing him look like
Yeah.
Caleb or some of these other guys or Jaden Daniels,
What
right?
does he
Like,
look like in his
you
own
know,
class that he was supposed to be in high school? You could make an argument he
right?
looks
He's
like
better
what you
than
want.
Cade Klubnik. Like,
He's better than Cade Klubnik. He's better than Drew Aller. Is he not?
Oh,
This is my thing. I we got to be realistic with these guys, man. Like not everybody that comes in is going to be I mean, this. Look at what VY was
eh,
at this point in his career, year 2,
you know what VY was in his second year as a starter? 10-1.
10-1 with a loss to Oklahoma.
And the next time we have a perfect quarterback, we're 10-1.
Yeah,
Like,
in his second
I
year
mean,
starting.
these are
Wow,
just facts.
it's
that's
crazy.
These are
crazy.
just facts.
And
These
my
are
thing
just
is too,
facts.
like we hold like speaking about the ranking thing, right? Where is Cedric Baxter at this point in his career compared to Zach Evans at this point in his career? Compared to Tank Bigsby at this point in his career. Demarcus Bowman was a 5-star running back, that same class that went to Clemson. Have you heard his name since?
I don't even know what school he's at now.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have so many different guys that come in with high rankings and this and that. Dog, do you have any doubts in your mind, Steven, that Cedric Baxter is going to be a 1,000-yard rusher while at the University of Texas?
Nope.
I certainly don't. I certainly do not. I don't know. I just think we hold these guys to
Bevo,
crazy.
Bevo, guys, but should we not be holding QE to a higher standard? What's the standard?
What? Yeah. What's the standard, bro?
Man, people getting on my nerves with the Quinn is legit. Like he got stuff to work on, but dude is balling, man. What's going on,
Quinn is unquestionably a top 15 quarterback in college football right now.
dude? After if once he
Unquestionably.
when I heard he was coming back next year, I was so man. Get his 3 years in Sark system.
Unquestionably.
Mac Jones.
I just don't know what the standard should be. I mean, I think this is the other thing too. again, depending on how you digest football, there's certain quarterbacks that are going to be you just prefer that style of quarterback. I think that the way Quinn Ewers plays and throws the ball, some people want a dual threat, hard throwing type quarterback, and he's not that. And
Yeah.
so, regardless of his production, you're not going to care because subjectively, you don't prefer that style of quarterback. You want a different style of player or a different type of player, and for that, I feel like if you're
Forget
getting
all
the
that.
wins, you're gonna
Forget
have to
being
overlook
nice.
that.
Forget being nice. Texas fans, we have a quarterback that does not turn the ball over and consistently moves the ball. Point blank, period. You have a quarterback that does not turn the ball over and he consistently moves the ball. Your team has been put in positions time and time again to win football games, and he has done nothing since being on campus but improve. Last season, he's not the same player that he is this season. Who's to say he can't make the same jump next year and be that top 5 elite quarterback? The quarterbacks in his own class, right? Not the 2021 ones. I'm talking about the guys that he left high school early to not be in the same class as. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Connor Wegman, Ty Simpson, Devin Brown, Walker Howard, Gunnar Stockton, Nick Evers. How does he look in that class right there? How does he look in that class? Let's be honest.
It's a yeah, it's not even a
I,
conversation.
I
I
think I think I think
heard
this is where it gets real. He comes back next year, year 3 as a starter, and he's not elite, and he's not like unquestionably top 15 pick. Now I'm listening. Now I'm hearing you out. Because
If he's
right
the
now,
same guy, if he's
and right
just
now,
the same guy next year,
exactly. My thing is right now, Quinn would go second round in a loaded class.
I heard someone's like Quinn was great. Well, Quinn was okay. He wasn't great last night. He threw for 280 with 2 touchdowns. What more do you want from this guy? That's a great stat line for what we are. We're not the throw it all over the place, 300 plus yards a game. Like we ain't that.
Yeah. And he's
Marlon,
recovering from injury too. Like I
Marlon,
get it. I do have
Marlon,
my gripes with
Marlon,
Quinn.
Kieran, Marlon said he's not buying it. He doesn't believe he doesn't see it.
Trevor Lawrence wasn't perfect. Trevor Lawrence also walked into a situation where he had two. He had Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Joseph
Uh,
Osai, and Charles Omenihu. Like that's what his defensive line was at Clemson. Like,
oh,
like
and he had T. Higgins. He had T. Higgins
bro,
and Justin Ross
I'm
at
saying.
receiver before Ross had the neck thing.
I'm telling you right now, Quinn
And
Ewers is doing the exact
Travis
same amount
Etienne
for
in the
this team.
backfield.
Quinn Ewers is doing the exact same amount for this team as Trevor Lawrence was their national championship year. I wholeheartedly believe that. They were going to win those games regardless. He had a Travis Etienne in the backfield, and an Amari Rogers, and a Hunter Renfro, and Clellan Farrell, and Christian Wilkins, and all these dogs all over the field, bro. Like, what are we talking about? Yes, we have a loaded team now. We're 10-1 with Quinn Ewers as our starting quarterback. For fuck's sake, 10-1.
And the one game we lost was on the last play.
He's just not in Heisman contention, so I think everyone's like, oh, how many Heisman's did Trevor Lawrence win in college?
Zippo.
How many Davy O'Briens did Trevor Lawrence win in college? Not a single one.
My my
Oh,
brother said he the training wheels are on
On Quinn?
when things get tight.
I
That's it's a longer conversation. I feel like to
Yeah, I agree.
see because
what
this is my thing though, Steven. I
Sark
hate
knows
that.
his
I
guy.
hate that take too. When we went down on the road in Alabama, who pulled us out the fire on offense? Were we
it
running the
was
ball,
Quinn,
or was Quinn hitting freaking passes?
You're right.
and he was hitting some
Dots.
Come on,
shots.
man. Come on. When you needed to get back in the game against OU after he was having his struggles, who figured it out and ended up getting you back in position? Come
And
on.
Beat Star. Hey, appreciate you, man. Hook 'em. Thank you.
Let's not act like Quinn's not a guy ready for the moment when he plays his best game.
Marlon got a counter to everything. It was man coverage, bro.
Man. It was man coverage for Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase when they was cooking
To be
AJ
honest,
Terrell.
these better conferences, that's all they play. Big 12, like the SEC is mano and mano every play. They ain't
Man.
running no zone in the SEC.
This is why I love the discourse here. There's
That's funny.
Oh man.
What do you want him to
He
do
said
better
those
than
are
that, though?
some
He still
great
delivered.
training wheels.
He still delivered. Listen, I have my gripes with Quinn too. Steven, you know them, but I'm not gonna go out there and publicly voice them and be like, Quinn, this and this and that. When he's moving the ball, not turning it over, winning football games. What do I want my quarterback to do more than anything? Go out there and win football games.
Don't turn the ball over.
Come on now.
We asked him. We also asked
even better than that. Even better than that, Steven. Who are the only two quarterbacks in the modern era of college football? Like, meaning, like, since I was born, who are the only two quarterbacks? Actually, sorry, since 2005, since the last time we won a natty, who are the only two quarterbacks to go back to back as national champions?
AJ McCarron, right?
And Stetson Bennett.
And Stetson.
Game managers.
Game managers, man. And Quinn is better than both of them.
You're right. You're right.
Quinn is better than both of them, bro. And guess what? They did their damn job, bro. They did their job. We're talking about the offensive coordinator that had the most explosive offense in the country with Mac Jones. Bruh, sometimes that's what it is. And I think he's only going to get more familiar with the system next year. And it's going to be easier to make these reads. And guess what? When he's hitting these dump downs next year, I'm going to be applauding. Because I love the fact that he's not pushing the ball into an area that he doesn't need to. Because this offense is going to be able to move the ball regardless.
Marlon's got Marlon's got people on his side. Yeah. David Brombo.
David was very
Bevo's with Marlon. I didn't. Wow,
2 years.
Dude, Bo Nix been in college for like 8 years. What you mean, Bo Nix?
This is my thing though.
He's not that type of quarterback though.
Guys,
he's not that style of quarterback.
Defenses have adjusted, man. If you don't have super talent around you, it's harder to get going early on in your career, bruh. Like, who are the best quarterbacks in college football right now? It's Bo Nix, who's a fifth-year senior. It's Michael Penix, who's a sixth-year senior.
Who's old as shit.
It's Jaden Daniels, who's a fifth-year senior.
Dude,
who performed best? Who are having those efficient-ass seasons? Joe Burrow, who was a fifth-year senior. Yo. Mac Jones, who's a fourth year, like sit on the bench 3-year guy.
Like Quinn is what, 20?
Bro, let him cook.
20.
Let him cook.
Yeah,
and I understand you want to see more out of him. Bro, dude went out there in his second game against Alabama and was torching shit. I don't care, bro. Let him go through his mistakes.
Yeah, I will say this. Jane Daniels, they showed a clip. Jane Daniels' freshman year at Arizona State when they upset Oregon, and Justin Herbert, and he's throwing a deep ball to Brandon Ayuk for the game-winning touchdown. Dear Lord. That's all Jane Daniels is, by the way. Herbert, think about what I just said.
What happened in 2 years?
Think about what I just said.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk.
Think about what he threw a game-winning touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. To beat Justin Herbert's Oregon Ducks. That's Jaden Daniels.
These people were competing with Sam Ehlinger. Come on, dog. Let's be real.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Oh, Nix's first game was against Justin Herbert. Forgetting that.
Yeah, they both played against Justin Herbert. They both played against. They've been in college football for a long time. Michael Penix. Michael Penix has been in college football.
Touchdowns during COVID ball. Dog.
They have some old heads. Old heads with the extra COVID year that are balling.
My thing is though, people are saying like Quinn hasn't lived up to the hype. Quinn, what is he supposed to look like, guys? Do y'all want like I get what you're saying. The star rating, you want him to look like if you want him to look like Bryce Young his first year, cool. I can understand he's not living up to a freaking NFL first round draft pick like 3 years in, 3 years out type guy. But also Bryce Young had help. Bryce Young also played on the best team and the best structure of anyone in college football. Quinn Ewers got asked to come in and take over a 5-7 football team.
They want 3. They want 300 yards and 3
And had his
touchdowns
number one
every
target.
game.
Exactly. And had his favorite target tear his freaking ACL 2 weeks before the season. In his first year with the actual spring camp. His first fall install. Like, bro, I just now in year 2, this quarterback, this number 1 overall quarterback, whatever, has his team 10-1 on the cusp of a potential playoff berth. With a road win, a 10-point road win over Alabama, over Nick Saban's Alabama, where he threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and no turnovers.
He dotted them twice.
He's not living up to the hype.
I still watch that game.
He's not that quarterback isn't living up to the hype.
I watch them clips all the
Steven,
time.
how crazy would it be? Unrelated. I tell you 5 years ago, hey, bro, we're going to have like the number 1 overall rated quarterback out of high school. He went to Southlake. Then in his second season ever at 20 years old, because he left high school a year early, we're going to go on the road against Nick Saban's Alabama when they're ranked number 3. We're going to beat them by 10 points, and he's going to have 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. And afterwards, when we're 10-1 later on in that season, people are going to be saying that he's not living up to the hype. You, at that moment, watching Tyrone Swoops and freaking Gerard Hurd play quarterback for your team would be like, I freaking hate my fan base. Let's not forget where we have been.
Dude, don't talk about none of that crap, bro. Gerard Hurd was our quarterback, bro.
Bro.
All right, I gotta go. The Cowboys are starting. I mean, this is so good. David Brown, he said, "Quinn is case with a strong." Oh
This
Lord,
is crazy.
the slander from our own fan base.
Oh, you freaking! Y'all the people I'll be fighting with on the internet under the comments.
Fellas, I appreciate y'all so very much. In all seriousness, I gotta run. I gotta go watch my Cowboys. But love it. 10-1. That's it. Full stop. Full stop. Let's go get ready for Tech. It's fun week, Turkey week, Thanksgiving week. We go give our thanks, and then Friday night we go and turn up against Tech on senior night. That's what I'm on. So
yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Guys, remember, horns always up. Hook 'em, subscribe, like the whole video. Horns always up. Thank y'all, fellas.